Welcome to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. I'm your host, Sean Smith, and we've got another episode for you guys. It's going to be dealing with food plots, and I couldn't think of anyone better to have back on this exact episode than Tony Bennett from Red Light Food Plot Seed Company. How are you, sir?
Hey, good. You?
I got that right, didn't I?
You got it. You nailed it this time.
Nailed it that time. You guys won't see it, but I called it First Light at the end of the episode, the first episode. So, but you won't get to see that because I cut it out. That's the magic of editing. I can do that. And I just told myself, so there's ethics for you guys. But man, so how are you doing since our last episode?
Good. Just busy with life right now. Trying to get ready for season 2. Like we were talking off air too, it's Michigan's youth season this weekend. So it's going to be a warm one. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes.
So we did talk a little bit off air, and I think, kind of work us into what we're going to talk about today. I think, we can kind of rehash some of those things, but I'm going to ask you one thing. Have you seen like a decrease in deer on your cameras here recently?
A little bit. A lot of it's the heat. Michigan currently right now is going through a huge drought, where it's drier and dry up here. I mean, if you get any camera footage, it's either middle of the night or right when it starts cooling down, you finally get that movement. But so far it's slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like there's not been a whole lot of activity, and some of the hotter spots that we have is just not a lot of activity going on. So I started to get a little bit nervous. And I think if anybody knows anything about recent, what's going on in current events in Ohio or this area in general, because of that drought you mentioned, is EHD is like running rampant in certain parts of our states. Some may be a little worse than others. And then you just can't help yourself to think, oh my, are my deer affected now?
Yeah.
Am I going to go out there and they're going to find a bunch of dead deer? Well, I'll be honest, I'll tell myself, I did think that when I first heard that come through. I'm like, man, I'm not getting a lot of like photos. So I went out to the farm and walked around. I had a couple things to do anyways, but I walked around and knock on wood, that there was no signs of like dead deer or anything out there. So
no, that's always a good thing. So no, EHD has been a problem up here. So, and it's all due to the moisture and everything. And that's been taking a pretty heavy effect. And then too, like we were talking too, with the CWD down your way is really starting to take a stranglehold on your guys' season in Ohio, right?
Yeah, it is. So they've narrowed it down to a few counties up in the northwest part of the state is where they're really focused. And I guess here it was a pinned up deer somewhere in the northern part of my county here, but that was years ago that they originally found it there with that. But there is a couple of disease surveillance areas, like I said, up towards the northwest that they're really focusing on. So I will say this, just to add to that. So, but I do know that the ODNR is like on top of it. Or when I say on top of it, they are very, very, very adamant about coming and testing deer that's showing any signs of sickness because of CWD or EHD. So the example I have is a buddy of mine sent me a photo of a deer that he had on his trail camera that looked like really sick, like really super thin. It would have been a nice, but it was a nice 2, maybe 3-year-old buck. Like, that what you could tell, but it was just emaciated. That's a big word for a country boy like myself. He was really thin.
Yeah, he's really thin. Yeah.
He was really thin, right? Like sickly thin. And, with a trail cam photo, there's only so much details that you can get, right? And I'm like, he's like, what do you think of this deer? I'm like, I honestly, he looks really thin. Outside of that, I really don't know. Like, because the trail cam photo, that's all you got. Well, about a day later, he starts sending me videos of this deer sitting out in like a very small clover plot he has right behind his house. This deer's just staying there. It's been in one spot before it was all said and done for an hour. Like,
Oh yeah.
it was there, not moving, barely moving. Um, if it bent down and maybe grabbed a couple blades of whatever, or a couple, leaflets of clover, chewed on it, but just stood there, didn't really do much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, I got a couple contacts in ODNR. Let me forward this on to them and see what they say. And believe it or not, they are really adamant about that deer being euthanized, and
Okay.
they wanted to test it. So long story short, that's what happened, and they sent somebody down to his farm or his house to collect the sample.
Okay.
So they're I don't know how long it's going to take to get the results, but we're going to hopefully hear pretty soon. So ODNR is trying to be on top of it the best they can, because I think they're getting a little bit of heat right now because of EHD, and I understand the emotional side of that, because that's something that's right in your face like right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they can get ahead of it before it gets worse. So that's all you can hope for. So
well, you're kind of at nature's mercy, like
yeah. Oh yeah.
it's a drought. Like there's what do you do? I mean, you can go out there and do a rain dance if you want, and let me know if it works for you. But um, it's just it's bad, and you
Yeah.
had the combination of overpopulation of deer and the drought conditions that's going to get them to be really concentrating on certain sources. It's just unfortunate. That's how diseases work. That's how
That's
viruses work. That's
yep.
what they need to propagate. So
Yep. Absolutely. So
I don't. I feel bad for everybody, especially if your entire farm is your herd is pretty much decimated because of it. But
yeah. No, it's a terrible thing, but yeah, it's part of nature, like you said. So it's just a matter of how can we figure out how to avoid this from ever, taking out the
yeah,
whole herd
happening in
in
the future.
general.
Yeah,
Yep.
try to mitigate as much as possible. So I'm sure
Mhm.
there's some resources out there, but that's not why we're here today to
Oh,
talk about that kind of stuff.
let's
To
think
give you
happy thoughts, not
to give you some hope and some directions to go.
Yep.
There's other episodes out there right now that people are talking about it. So go check that out if you're interested in that type of stuff. Luckily, we've been okay at my farm so far. And the other farm, there's been a couple cases reported in that county, which is Harrison County, Ohio.
Okay.
But so far I've not had any issues that I've noticed yet of deer
Gotcha.
infected by it. So fingers crossed going into season, but
Absolutely.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
But
So great.
other than that, man, we're
Yep.
here to talk about food plots, though. We're here about giving the nourishment to the deer, getting them in your
Yep.
air, keeping them on your farm, all this kind of fun stuff to make you help you be a little bit more successful. So let's do a quick recap what we talked about in the last episode, kind of get everybody in that idea of where this is coming from. And now, since we're going to start narrowing down into like very specific topics now in the next couple of episodes that you and I have together.
Yep.
So last time we did an overview, and basically we kind of give you a chance to introduce your company, who you are, things like that. And we kind of started so throw some tidbits at people, right? Start talking about
Absolutely.
these micro plots, these larger plots, and
Yes.
some do's and don'ts, and we started a roadmap. But I think it's really good, and go back and listen to that episode, folks, if you haven't yet, because it'll kind of give you an idea where we're going with this. But we're going to start focusing on probably next 4 episodes or so of focusing on just certain topics about food plots. And today's episode is about microplots, which I think is a big buzzword these days. Would you agree?
Yes. Huge. Kill plots, poor man's plots, micro plots, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. It seems to be the thing to do. So, and there's good reason behind it. So we'll kind of dive into it a little bit here and go from there. So,
Well, so let's get started on that then.
okay.
Let's define if you're going to define what a microplot is, what is it?
Okay. So, a micro plot is basically something that you set up to be more strategic. It's a smaller food plot. Usually they're anywhere from quarter acre to a half acre is what I consider a micro plot.
Okay.
Now, you get into the acre side, you're between a micro kill plot slash heading in towards what we call a destination plot. And the destination plot is overall you're looking to feed the deer. And that's when you start getting into the larger, like uh 5 acres, so on and so forth, 2, 3, 4 acres, the bigger plots.
Hmm.
So micro plots, essentially what you're setting them up for is bow hunting or cutting off the deer before they head towards their either coming in to go to their bedding area or heading out to head towards those agricultural fields or a certain area that they want to head to at night is what essentially you're bringing them to a focal point where you know they're going to be at, where they're going to cross through, they're going to scent check, they're going to do everything, they're going to grab something to eat and move on. So it's not a long time thing that they're there for. You're not trying to hold them there. It's more of bringing them to a certain point to get an opportunity at harvesting one of them. So that's
Okay.
it's about the best way to put what a microplot is.
All right. So I'm trying to think if I want to ask this question now or ask it, later when we get to another, maybe where it falls in a little bit better. But so what I'm imagining though, like, because how, does like to bed like close to their food sources, right on top of those destinations. Bucks, not so much, right? I mean, they typically will bed a little bit further away, and I think that's where some people, well, I guess what you'll hear is that if you have like a buck that's showing up, at your food plots, your bigger plots later in the evening, where it's just either just now legal or just at legal shooting, like almost the very end of it, or just after it, that means you probably need to go a little bit further in to catch him on his way in, if that's what you're wanting to do. So with this, I guess, with that in mind, I guess maybe this isn't a fair question, but is that kind of like what a microplot is going to kind of help you with, is set up before that destination?
Yes, what you're doing is being the cutoff point between that destination point that they want to go to at night or in the morning or so on and so forth. And then between their bedding and that, I mean, that's where they're traveling back and forth from. So setting up that and having a spot where they can, you're basically ambushing them is essentially what you're trying to do with one of these setups. So,
Okay.
it's a way to hunt smarter too. I mean, these plots they're good for early season and they're good for late season in the sense of early season. If you can get, you know, the deer know that food's there. They know they've seen it summer or all summer long. Early season, that's the point they're going to come through. They're still in their early season travel corridors or whatever you want to go, trails. They know it's there. That's a point they always take. I mean, early season, if you can get on that, I mean, that's your first opportunity at a buck before they start getting pressured. Now, let's jump towards late season. Now they've been, pressured from hunters, going through the rut. They're starting to get a little more beat up on, um, you know, that kind of area. Plus, food's starting to get scarce around there because obviously fall's kicking in, leaves, crops are getting harvested, so on and so forth. So it brings them back to that point to now this is the spot I want to eat. I'm in cover around me. I can dive to cover really quick. So it's got that security aspect to it. I can grab something to eat. You can amplify it doing a couple different things. So, I mean, it's essentially they're kind of a one size, I want to say one size fits all, but it's a great thing to get deer where you want them, essentially.
Okay.
Not in a large scale area where they could pop off a couple 100 yards down the field or so on and so forth. So
So if I'm looking at doing a microplot, because obviously, there's some, I'm sure in your experience, some stuff that would, or I want to say stuff, I mean, what type of plants or what I would want to plant in those microplots to be more effective at that. So what, in your experience, would you say would be some effective types of food to put in there?
okay. So the biggest thing you have to look at is when people get into microplots, they think I can just go in the woods and, this is where I want a food plot. The biggest thing is you got to figure out where the deer are traveling. You want to get as close as to their traveling corridor as you possibly can. You want to be as close between their bedding and their food source, their bigger destination food source. So the first thing is figuring out where trails are, so on and so forth. Next is basically figuring out the best location to put this plot to give you good access from getting in and out without spooking deer, getting enough basically sunlight so your plots can grow, and enough basically, like having the right seeds and plants to put down to attract them to that area.
Okay.
So if we're gonna get now into that, so once you figure out this is where I am, so on and so forth, the biggest thing is when you look at what you want to plant, clovers, certain types of brassica plants, and grains are all kind of the basic foundation to a microplot.
Okay.
There's I don't want to get crazy into different types of like clovers because there's a ton,
Mhm.
but I'll use some random or I'll use couple simple ones. But clover wise, crimson clover, easy to establish, good for early season, grows fairly good in shade.
Mhm.
Um, then brassicas, you're gonna have to jump into like the trophy rape seed. Um, Dwarf X's rape is also it's okay. It just doesn't have enough growth to it. It'll get
Okay.
mowed down.
Okay.
And then you step in the grains. So then your grains are your winter rye, oats, and winter wheats. Those are
Okay.
all good to fill in. So you get a
Mhm.
bunch of food in one area. So seed wise, those are your good foundation ones. Um, the biggest thing with people too is if I'm going to set up, this is me when I walk out to people's properties. The first thing I do is when they're like, this is where I want a food plot, is you look straight up because you got to look at the canopy above you.
Mhm.
If it's completely blocking all sunlight, you're not going to get the best product, if that makes any sense. So,
No, it does. Mhm.
yep. So, you, if you're going to put all this hard work in, yet you don't get enough sunlight, I mean, you're kind of wasting your time and money, essentially. So, look up, try to find voids in the trees where enough sunlight will come through to give you the plant's energy to grow. Um, clearing out the ground. Some people just go out there and start throwing seed on the ground. Well, there's sticks, there's leaves, dead debris already on the ground. Clean out that area. Make sure that simply taking a rake, backpack blower with you. I mean,
Mhm.
just scratching the ground up and clean all that debris. You've already created a decent seed bed. So,
Mhm.
you don't need heavy equipment. That's the other really nice thing about a micro plot too, is you don't need all expensive equipment like you would for if you're going to do acres and acres and all that. So,
Right.
you know, a lot of the kill plots that I put in over the years, it's a hard rake, a blower, and fertilizer in a backpack. I mean, that's how I managed a lot of these. So, but
Well,
yeah.
I think in an agricultural state like Ohio, like I think microplots, I think that's probably a reason why they're so popular. Is a lot of our farms, we may not farm ourselves, but the area around them is, and so
Yes.
we know that these gigantic cornfields. Listen, let's be honest. Your 5 acre soybean field's not going to compare to a 100 acre soybean or cornfield, right?
Cornfield. Yeah. No.
It's they're going to go. That's a lot of food there for them, right? Now,
Yep.
yes, at a certain point, if they pick or if you leave your bean standing, something maybe that might be a little bit more palatable or more appeasing
Yep.
late in the season, right? You'll get more attention there.
Right.
But where it shines though is these little microplots that we're talking about today, is because you can set those up because the deer are going there, right? They're
Yep.
going to that corn, they're going to that soybean. So let's give them a stopping point, like you said, on their way to there, so they're still on our property and we can hunt them because we're giving them a nice little an appetizer before they go out to the main
Yeah,
course.
it's exactly it. I mean, you're setting up the appetizer for the main course for them as they're heading out. So, one thing too, like people are like, "Oh yeah, I got corn over here and I got soybeans on this side of the field." Looking at that too, I mean, some people are like, "So, corn and soybeans, they're a good thing and the deer absolutely love them." But, you know, I've had really, really good luck over the years in my micro plots by doing clovers. Clover is, man, it's hard to beat. So, yes,
Mhm.
clover kind of fades out towards, goes dormant over, you know, once the frost really starts hitting it and
Mhm.
whatnot. So, and that's where your grains will start picking up because they need the carbohydrates in their system to burn energy and so on and so forth. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, clover's a great thing to get established for a micro plot. and then even toss in a little bit of grains in there and maybe a brassica. I mean, you basically set up your early season till your late season having that food source in these little micro plots, giving them a variety of things to eat other than just one. So
Mhm.
that's why it's good to have mixes. And some people get confused, like I need to specifically put, you know, brassica. I need to have this big brassica plot, and I need to have all this, and then it looks awesome in the pictures, but they're only going to hit it from one point to the other, and then once it's gone, it's gone. So having those mixtures per se in these microplots gives you that advantage of, hey, they want that protein right now, and that's where clovers kick in. Hey,
Mhm.
it's starting to get colder, they're building fat for the winter, so let's start, putting brassicas and grains in there because that's going to help them store fat and build fat and give energy to them. So
Yeah, because the
those are
carbohydrate.
that's kind of why you want to do mixes to build yourself up. Unless you're like, this stand right here is only early season because of they travel a different way, knowing the
Mhm.
property or something like that. So I'm going to really get an early season food source here because I know they're going to come here and this is going to be their point that they're going to come through and stop at every night before they sneak out. So
Okay.
it's based off of their nutrition and what they're looking for and eating. So
Now I want to circle back on something real quick.
go for it.
And so clover, the the farmer who actually is like planting our fields, that one of the farms I hunt, he's been putting clover in for a little while now.
Okay.
He goes, he cuts it, and he uses it for his hay and or
Hey.
whatever he's using
Yep.
for his cattle, right? I have noticed though that last year we had a pretty good winter last year here in Ohio. Like
Okay.
there was a good snow cover, and it seemed like those deer like all through the season was hitting that clover, even in the winter months. Like you
Yep.
would come, there would be holes dug in the snow where they come out and they were getting that clover.
Yeah.
Um, so I know we talked about it going dormant, but I was curious
It,
because like they were hitting it pretty hard there
yeah.
still.
So the plant itself will go dormant. Not to say it's dead or anything. It goes
Okay.
dormant to basically keep itself alive. So come springtime, it can regenerate and go from
Okay.
there. So
Okay.
being clover, some clovers are annuals, some are perennials. So the perennial being they come back every year,
Hmm.
those are the ones that'll go dormant per se. And what they're doing is the plant's going into survival mode. And that's, yes, the deer will nip the tops off and it'll be
Hmm.
down to almost dirt. But come springtime, clover's right back. So
Okay.
that's why when guys put annuals down, and annuals are your grains and some of the brassicas and stuff. That's why once they eat them, it's gone. That's it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and
I
then too, like we were saying with the winter thing, um, yes, deer want to go for green in the wintertime because what do they go through once everything's eaten? They go to woody browse and whatever, and then they just start eating all that stuff and the neighbors' arborvitae trees that they put up and all the berries, holly berries, and all that kind of stuff because that's what their food sources. They're gone. They're covered with snow. Michigan, we get feet of snow,
Mhm.
so it's just one of those things. If they can reach that in those fields, that's obviously that's what they're going to go for. So, and
Yeah.
that goes,
Yeah.
I guess, for any one of the plants. So,
I mean, well, that makes sense. You hear anybody talk about the hunting in the winter, like if you get a warm spell that melts the snow and you get green pop up again, or
oh,
you get
what do you? Where do you
green,
think all the deer are? Yep.
you better be there because
Yeah.
that's where the
Oh,
deer are
yeah.
going to be. They're going to be
Yep.
there getting a green while it's available to them. Absolutely. So that makes sense. And I think I wanted to touch on that because maybe that was maybe everybody who's listening to this podcast knows that what you just said about being dormant. But I just want to make sure we covered that. Like, just because it's dormant doesn't mean it's not still palatable. It just means it's not
Yeah.
going to come back. It's not
Yeah.
it's not currently growing.
Yes.
Um,
It's going in protection mode. The plant
okay.
is out. So,
Yeah,
yep.
absolutely. Yeah, but I've noticed that. I mean, we talked about that came up in the last podcast too, and I was going to mention it then. I'm like, oh wait, because we're going to talk again. So
No, you're
I
good.
wanted to, I wanted to cover that. So,
Yep.
um, so we've started to dive into looking at those locations because I think location is probably going to be the key thing. So when we go back, let's talk about planning, and you already kind of touched on this already. So let's talk about planning where we want to put these small little kill plots, right?
Yep.
And kind of work from there. So find those locations. So obviously knowing where the deer are traveling is a big one. It's kind of like when you're going to put a mineral site in. You don't just put in the middle of the woods expecting deer to be there. If they're not traveling there, and the scrapes too, like anything you do, if your deer aren't traveling there, or
Yeah.
you don't have it within a couple yards of where they're traveling, they're probably not going to come to it.
Mhm.
So, so that's one of the big things is find out where your deer are traveling.
Yep.
And so we got travel corridors down. We know where they're traveling to.
Yep.
And then I like what you said back there. You said the first thing we need to do is look up, because if you're not getting sunlight, which
Sure.
plants need majority of plants need sunlight
It's
to grow. If they're
Yep.
not getting it, they're not going to grow.
Yep.
And well, go look at your forest. And I think this would be a good thing to do too. Go out and walk in your woods, and you walk around, you see a bunch of open ground. When I say open ground, like you got tall trees and you don't see a lot of undergrowth. That means you're
It's
not getting sunlight to the ground down there.
Yep.
Is what's happening there. The canopy is too thick, and it's all what we call old growth, and there's no new growth or very little new growth because there's not enough sunlight there to keep it going. So that's probably not a good place to try to put a
it's
small pond
Yes.
in.
I mean, you can open up the canopy per se. I
Right.
mean, that's obviously you gotta take out some,
Yes.
trees or overgrowth above you. So,
Yes.
I mean, that's one way if you're like, "Nope, I absolutely need a plot here."
Hmm.
I mean, that's the solution to that problem is I gotta open up or get some way to get above there and open it up.
Yeah.
Take out maybe a couple branches here and there and use them. Um, I want to use them as like a screening just to kind of funnel the deer into that spot too. Using
Hmm.
some of the cover or that your cuttings that you did and use that to kind of like keep them in an area to lead them. So
Right.
using them to funnel them in.
Since you mentioned that, let's talk about that, because I think that's part of the planning process too. Is how the deer are going to access that. So if
Yep.
you're looking at that, if you're going to set up like that, let me ask you this: if you're
Okay.
going to set that up to where you're going to create this screening or create this funnel for the deer, this is the way the deer is going to walk into it. What are some of the things you're taking into consideration when you're creating this access?
Okay. So looking around your area, like you said, you got a wide open, say, maple oak tree forest thing where you can look from one end to the other. There's no
Hmm.
rhyme or reason. Starting to, you know, and then I'm saying drop trees is kind of a big word, but put things to disrupt them from going certain ways and you kind of push them towards where you want them to go using dead underbrush, um, raking trails out. It's funny that deer, for some reason, if you move dirt in the ground, and this is anybody that's done food plots too, as soon as you break up the ground, like going through with a disc or anything like that,
Hmm.
that fresh dirt smell, for something about a deer, love that. And they are out in the fields on that freshly tilled dirt or whatever, and they're walking around and they just are just having the time of their life. And I've never really known what's that draw to them of why that fresh dirt smell is attractive to them. So, but building structures to push them into where you want them to lead in and funneling essentially. So, use dead undergrowth that's underneath you, branch stuff up, just kind of push them in that general direction. Now, are you going to have enough material to get them there? No, but that's where the rest of the you know, setting up, food, that's gonna come to that point and whatnot. So, um, you know, later on in the season, if you got a scrape set on that end, the buck's obviously gonna come to that point to scent check to head out too. Watering holes, that's another big, big thing that will absolutely help you too, is watering holes. Setting that up in the middle of the plot to pull them into that point.
Uh-huh.
Um, food plots are just the one piece to all this puzzles. So, or to this puzzle. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I kind of look at it is you got to start building a reason to go there. So, if I can block their paths, their other
Hmm.
trails or whatever, and force them to go take the path of least resistance, basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to block their other trails and force them to go, hey, they have to go this way because deer are going to take the path of least resistance.
Right.
I mean, in a big, tall, grassy field, if you mow a path right down the dead center of it, where the deer are gonna walk, right down the dead center of it. So,
Well, it
if
makes
you
sense.
can
You
make
want
it
to burn
easier
up.
for yeah,
As a
go ahead.
wild animal, you want to burn up more calories than you need to
Right. It's
because
easy. Yeah.
because
Deer
calories
deer want
are
the deer want the easiest thing to keep
Mhm.
them alive, so if I can go down this walked mowed trail with grass on both the side, that's what I'm gonna do.
Well,
So,
ask yourself when you walk out there, do I want to walk through that or do I want to walk across this
mhm,
mode path? You're going to do,
exactly.
we're going
So,
to do the same thing. I mean, there's some of us that, we want to take the hard way, just, I think, to prove a
just
point,
because.
just because.
Yep,
Some
yep.
people like to always walk uphill both ways, but whatever.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
hey, that's how that is, so but yeah, if you can build thick cover around everything and funnel them into you, I mean, that's absolutely what I'm looking for to establish
So
that.
now, could you use that to also set up your shot too? I think I've heard this before where people are talking about like they'll use that type of funneling to set their shot, the kind of
Yeah,
force them into an area for their shot, right?
shot. Yep. I mean,
Right.
that's essentially what you're doing is bringing them to that focal point there that
Right.
you can get your shot opportunities at them. So,
Yeah, I mean, because we're only talking quarter acre, maybe half acre of a
yeah,
plot.
it's
Anyways.
we're not talking, yeah, big area, but enough to bring them into a point where you're like, "Hey, this is a 50-yard shot for me for a crossbow or bow hunting." So I know this is where they're gonna enter and exit. So,
So we touched on grains again with this episode. You brought it up again, and I think you also touched on like not all grains are the same because you're
right.
going to you hear different types of grains that are out there. Rye is one of those examples you gave last time. Was that there's this type of a rye, but there's also a winter rye,
Yep.
and you got to be careful which one you grab because the one's basically just it's garbage. It's not.
Essentially,
It's
yeah.
not. I mean, I guess they could probably get some nutrition from it, but
Yep.
it's not what you're going to get from the other, which is
Right.
that winter rye is what you said, right?
Yes. Winter rye is absolutely yes. You get more if you get more winter rye out of winter rye than ryegrass or um oh there's a couple of different names. I kind of lose my train of thought on those, but you just get more out of it per se for the deer and more food out of that aspect. So
No,
nutrition wise, but
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And it just want to, it's covering, that we make sure you grab like the right stuff because it's back to planting the right stuff in those plots, what type of food sources you want to put in there because you're trying to maximize the benefits of those, right? Because
yep,
one, it has to be palatable. It's small, so you want it to be palatable. I also think another concern was you want something that's going to be able to handle the browsing that it's probably going to receive. Is that another consideration to think
yep.
of?
That's absolutely a consideration just because so clover can take once clover's established, that can take browse pressure very, very well. Obviously, too much, it won't survive, but brassicas can take some browse pressure, but at some point they're done. And then you're left with stems coming out and it's just the plant can't keep going. And then
Mhm.
with grains though, you can put more plant into a denser area than you can with brassica. Brassica needs room to grow and it needs less or it needs more area, I should say. And grains can be tightly planted together so you get more growing a thicker, you know, stand of it. So, I mean,
Okay.
it's a balancing game with all of it too. So, and that's why a lot of the times you got to read on what the planting rate is on whatever area you're working on. So,
Mhm.
like my deep wood stuff is specifically set up for hand broadcasting and for the aspect of in a quarter acre, this is what you need to put down to give all the plants the right amount of room per se
Mhm.
and the right amount of seed on the ground so you get a good stand of clover and brassica and the grains. So there's there's some science behind planting rates.
Mhm.
Corn is a big thing too. If you plant corn too close together, it stunts the growth. If you plant it too far apart, you won't get the right yield out of it. Your corn or the cobs that grow off of it basically that you don't get a good harvest out of that. So that's why there's a planting rate for corn and why you got to use a planter more or less to get the best outcome for what you're putting down. So
And who'd have thought? We all thought farmers were just big dumb hillbillies out there
They're big
growing.
dumb hillbillies with big tractors.
But come to find out, there's some deep
There's
science that goes into this whole even growing corn. So to
oh
be,
yeah,
for
corn and
high yield.
soybeans, all of that. Yep. There's all scientific stuff on planting rates and if you planted too far apart and how much more yield you get out of soybeans if you plant them, X amount of feet from each other. And I mean, there's a lot to all this. So
Yeah,
that's why just looking and reading the back of labels on things really will help you, you know, get the best for what you're basically putting your money to. So,
right. So I'll
yep.
do the shameless plug for you. I'll throw it in there. So your backwoods blend, this would probably be a really good blend for some microplots. Would you agree?
The
Would you
Yeah, so the Deep Woods blend
deep woods? Sorry,
basically
deep
yeah,
woods.
no,
Sorry.
you're good. So, yeah, the Deep Woods blend that I have or the Deep Woods mix is it, I specifically made that mix for this setup. I mean, I've tried all different kinds. I've tried, more brassicas, less brassicas, more clovers, less clovers, different kinds of clovers. I mean, I've spent years throwing seed on the ground and either doing well or
Mhm.
looking at dirt over the hunting season. So that and my frostbites that I just came out with this past year, I mean, those two, I mean, they're hard to beat. I mean, I'll send you a picture of it too once we get done here. But
Okay.
there's one stand I have right now. It's brown woods, and there's a big old green spot right in the dead center of it, and that's where all the deer go. So,
That's where they're coming.
yep. So,
Well, I mean, obviously it makes sense, and so we've got our location down. We got an
yep,
idea where we want to find that a good ambush spot. One, we notice all hunters should know this. You got to be able to access it without getting busted all the time, right?
yep,
If you don't have good access to it, you might want to find another location, right? The next one is making sure that you're in those travel corridors between where they're trying to get to, where they're coming from, or where they're trying to get to, and that's in between trying to find a good staging area, I guess we could call it,
yep,
between their bedding and their destination food source. Um, hunters know, and we talked about it already brought it up, but if you're looking at it at a sense, like if you got a buck that, like I said, is coming in at night to your food plots, you know, uh contrary to popular belief, that buck is on his feet during the daylight at some point in time and somewhere in his range, right? He's on his
yep,
feet, right? So
yep,
that means that he's coming from a distance, or he's coming from somewhere that takes him that long to get there, or he's just really slow coming there because whatever reason, right? He's not dumb. So what that means is that you need to find some place in the woods to intercept him and provide him with that food source where he is going to be on his feet during the sunlight or during the daylight to get to that food source.
yeah. I mean,
And
essentially, you're building confidence in that buck to
mhm,
go, hey, this is it. You're good. You can come through here. Like, I mean, you're giving
mhm,
that false sense of security. I mean, most bucks, what's the first deer to head out into a field at night? It's going to be the little yearlings or fawns,
yep, mhm,
then the moms, and the moms are always very, looking around everywhere. They're checking, and who's the
mhm,
last one to show up is the
a big
bucks.
buck,
So
mhm,
it's either at last shooting light or in the middle of the night. So if you can
mhm,
avoid that, if you can be 2 steps ahead of that, and yeah, like you said, be set up in that area after the yearlings go past, after mom's gone through,
mhm,
boom. Now I've got shooting light, and now I'm giving you that false sense of security of, oh yeah, here we go. I'm good to go to sneak through here. So,
mhm.
but yep,
So there's location. So let's talk about prep. Let's recycle back on prep a little bit.
okay,
And you kind of mentioned it already. We're like, hey, you could be as much as taking a rake and a blower in there and creating a pretty good seedbed that way.
yep,
And also making sure that the sunlight's in there. So depending upon how much work you want to put into this is going to depend on, a couple of factors, right? You could
yep.
play the easy card, find an open spot in a canopy, and then just go and dig up the ground. When I say dig up, like scratch up the ground, clear
Stretching
out
the
the
ground. Yep,
undergrowth, right? And plant and you just throw and make sure you get good soil contact and be on your way
yep,
and hope that you get rain.
yep. That's yep. Yes,
Especially this time,
rain's a big
especially
one.
in
Yep,
Ohio. Wait, hopefully you get rain and then to get that germination process started for those seeds. and they don't get ate by all the local
Squirrels
wild
and
birds,
critter, yep.
squirrels and stuff before they have a chance to germinate. So there's that. Or, or you could do more work, like you said, and find a spot. Like I absolutely, like, if I look at my property, if I look at all the travel corridors, this is what I have access to. This, I absolutely have to do this. But it's in that big old growth stand where there's nothing growing on the forest floor.
Yep.
That means you got a little bit of canopy work to do. Now, if it's private property and you can have the access and you're not ruining your timber value. Okay. And, there's things to consider. Like if you're not worried about that, then, be my guest, do whatever you want. But it sounds like you're either going to have to, you have to open up the canopy. Let's just put
You
it
have
that way.
to.
Whether you're trimming
A
trees
plant
or
can't
cutting
grow
trees down.
without sunlight. I mean, that's the basics. So
Yeah. So that's the kind of prep that goes into, but let's talk about another part of prep though. Is this something that you would also, you would soil test this, or is this
Yep.
something that
I mean, soil test is the basis to starting any food plot. I mean, whether it's you're doing a big field or if you're doing, this small little quarter acre, a tenth of an acre plot, if your soil is junk, is how I'm going to put it. But if your pH is extremely low, like I'm talking like super acidic, like if you're hunting, Michigan's got a ton of pine trees, and the pines grow in acidic soil. So, I mean, if you're surrounded by pines, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be super acidic. It's just going to, the soil's not going to be very good for the plants that you want to put in. So soil test is, that's the number one thing most people screw up on. They just think if I can put the seed down, it's going to grow. Something might grow. Are you going to get the best quality out of it? Maybe, but always check your soil always check your soil. I mean, if your pH isn't good, man, bring whatever the recommended rate is. I mean, 1/10 of an acre, if you put 50 pounds of lime on there, you're going to change the pH. You're going to make everything way better. Your fertilizer, I don't know if we talked about this on the last episode or not, but pH plays a big factor in how much a plant uptakes. Plant's only getting 50% of that nutrients because that's all that the soil can absorb and that's all the plant can uptake. Upping that pH level, and most of the time it's with lime, so upping that pH level. Now, if I'm in the 6s, now 75% of that 100 pounds is now going to the plant.
Okay.
And then once I start getting up into that neutral level, which is 7 in the pH scale, now all 100 pounds is available to those plants to uptake, and you're off to the races. Now you got a great stand, and then you're really set up. So yeah, that's the biggest thing of what a soil test is going to do. It basically gives the plant everything it needs, and then you're not working harder to grow something.
Which I think when this airs, this is actually a good time for this to come out too, because it's going to be it's going to be probably later October, early November, because obviously we're beyond, I'm not going to say we're beyond like being able to plant. You might get something to grow. You might get some winter stuff to grow, some rice and stuff, but we're kind of now in the point where you probably need to start thinking about what you're going to do for next year.
Next year, 100%. That's what a lot of people ask me too. They're like, "Well, what can I do? What can I do right now?" Man, put lime down. Lime. If I'm going to put I'm going to put a stand up and put a food plot here next year, man, lime it, because it gives all winter long. It's going to break down and it's going to be in the soil, and you're far off better now than you were last year. So that's absolutely time to do it.
I think it's something we discussed last time too, was that this is something that needs to be done. Like lime takes time to break down and actually become beneficial. So what you put down this year will be available for next year or for next year. It's not like put it down now and it's a benefit now. It takes a little bit of time for it to break in and work into the soil. So when you're listening to this, it's probably, like I said, it's probably going to be November when this actually airs. I think I'm breaking the fourth law of podcasts. Don't give dates, but when you're actually recording,
oh, you're good.
But the point of it though is by the time you're hearing this, if you are listening to this and this the later season of 2025 for your deer season, this is the time that you need to get out and decide, hey, if I'm going to put a plot in here, let's go find where it is, and then let's get it. Now you understand what to look for, what you're looking for, these locations. Now now you're starting the prep work of it. You go out there, you're putting that lime down and getting the soil ready for what you're going to do next year. And that's, we're going to be planting these things in. Obviously we're not discouraging you if you want to try to get some rye stuff to grow at this point in time. I mean, that's really probably about your only option at this point, is that the only thing that's going to come up or grow right now.
Grains are going to be the last resort. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clover, like we said, that last time, is that's one of the things that's going to start underground and build its root system, and then it's going to grow up and be beneficial the next year. So I'm assuming
you can put clover down now, but plan on it for next year, not this season. Yep.
It's not the fix for this year, but it's definitely going to be there for next year for you. So
correct. Yep.
But yeah, planning. This is the planning stage. This is it. Like this episode, I should just call it planning, because this is what it is.
Yep.
You're planning. So get out there, find those spots, put that lime down, and get ready to get that soil ready for what you're about to do this for the coming season. The following season coming up. So absolutely. Anything else we need to cover on the planning? Because I think that's
planning wise, that too, and just hopefully that their travel corridors stay the same way too. But you're altering something that they're used to, so you got to take that into account too. If you're going to do quite a bit of work, just understand that it might adjust their travel routes. So kind of take that into consideration a little bit. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it will. But I think by the time you get the food out, like once the food actually starts to establish and they realize it's
then you're good. It's just that initial. If I'm thinking, if you say, hey, I can take care of a couple of these junk like ash trees or something like that are kind of dead and dying, I'm going to drop them, kind of start doing that. Yeah, it might not affect them a ton, but it's different to them, something that's different. Either they're A, going to get curious, or B, they're going to be like, nope, that's danger, and I'm going to stay away from that. So, but yeah.
Yep, the 2 C's of deer: curious or cautious. It's the two you run into. They're either going to be really curious or they're going to be really cautious of it, and then hopefully they eventually become curious, because you got a great large food plot growing. So they're like, ooh, food.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the benefits, though. Why are we even doing all this? Let's talk. I mean, I usually like to start with why, and I think we understand the overall general why that most people are doing this, because they want an opportunity at their deer. That's it. I mean, let's be real. This is the main reason why we're doing it. Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. We interrupt this episode to let you in on some exciting news. If you're looking to upgrade your mock scrape game this year, then head over to scrapedoctor.com and fill your carts full of scrape magic, maybe a poison ivy or two, just a rope squared, or even just a rope. And then enter the code CountryFried10. That's Country Fried, spelled with a K, the number 10, and save yourself a little bit of money. And now, back to the pod. So let's look at what a benefit of like the let's take the micro plot. Let's look at it, what the benefits of it over like a larger, more destination plot. Let's start there.
I mean, seclusion and security is the biggest thing. The deer are more or less they feel safe. And it's the safety aspect of a micro plot that really is the biggest draw. And I mean, the other thing is, I mean, it's you get into basically their area. So instead of you setting up on a field edge, you're in their area more or less. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's the security. It's you're basically providing, like you said, an appetizer type thing. Minimal pressure on them. You're hitting their travel corridors. I mean, you don't want to necessarily like put your stand right in there. You want to have your stand a little offset from there, so you're not intruding on this. There's just, I mean, those are kind of some of the benefits to it.
Well, like we talked about if I remember correctly from the last episode, like if you come in, like I say, you have the room to do like a destination plot. You have a 5 acre or whatever plot of what you want to do. And like we talked last time, like with that 5 acre plot though, like, yeah, you are providing a good food source for them, but how huntable is it for the implement that you're using? Like if you're using a bow, like like we said.
Yeah.
So you decide you're hunting on the north end, but all of a sudden the buck's coming in on the south end of
South
that,
end.
and that's
Yeah.
hundreds of yards away. That doesn't do any good, right? As a bow
Right.
hunt. So then you're like, all right, so now I'm going to change my plan. I'm going to go over there and hunt that south end. And guess what? Next day he comes out and does what? He hits that north end, right?
Yep.
so
Absolutely.
so like,
So yeah, and I guess on that aspect too. So now I'm gonna go into I would set up several different micro plots based on one wind, you know, stand
mhm,
locations, wind, direction, so I can know I've set myself up in the best opportunity for those deer not to smell me as they're coming
mhm,
through. Plus, this is the way I know because I've created that travel corridor per se to
mhm.
get them to come to this spot right here, and it gives me, I mean, the better opportunity at harvesting something. So
Okay.
I mean, that would be my biggest draw on why I would want a micro plot is it gives me the best shot opportunity and the best like ethical way to take this animal too, instead of taking that 300-400 yard shot across my
Mhm.
big food plot because that's where he ended up and that's what I'm gonna do. So
Okay.
I mean those are kind of some of the benefits I can see. Um, you know, getting close to their areas. I mean,
Mhm. So let's
yeah.
talk about the benefit of doing multiple of them then, because that seems to
Okay.
be like a good benefit too, based upon when. And
Yep.
I want to ask you, in your experience, as you know, you've been doing this. I
Yep.
don't food plot a lot. I said this last episode. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say it again. Like I don't do a lot of it. Like there's, we have a lot of ag around us, and I think if I do get into this, it's going to be the micro plot version, just because
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to compete with the
You
large
can't there
soybeans
you can't.
right there
Yeah.
in the cornfield. So micro plotting is probably going to be the way that I would attack this very issue, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, and you said multiple, so in your experience, if I'm setting up for the wind, have you noticed that depending upon the wind direction is the food plot that deer is going to come visit? Does that
Yeah.
affect their travel, or it does their if they're coming from bed and the wind's blowing one direction, they come to this plot. If they're coming from their bed and it's blowing another direction, they come to this plot. Have you noticed that, or is that more of a
So, yes, in doing when I say multiple, I'm thinking like 2, 3 plots maybe,
okay,
and you can also set those up in different spots from the same location. So,
okay,
noticing like, like I'm gonna set a plot over to, the west of me, and I'm gonna set one to the east of me. At least I can see both of them.
hmm
Depending on the wind though, too, you gotta be careful too, because deer are gonna go downwind, so you gotta anticipate all this. So,
hmm
if I know on a east wind or a west wind, like these deer like to travel the west end of the property or whatever, I'll put a plot and a stand over there, and I'll know, okay, on this wind direction, that's where I wanna hunt, and then vice versa, you know, I wanna put myself in a better chance, 1, not to spook the deer
hmm
and let them know where I am, but to know, "Hey, I've done the best I can to try to, conceal myself," but knowing that this is a I have a higher probability of them being there, and that's essentially what I was kind of thinking when I said, like multiple different plots or whatever,
No,
but
that makes sense. I'm just spitballing some ideas out there to see,
oh, no, no, and
it's
setting
that
up
your
several different micro plots. Yeah, no, it's and those are questions people bring up too, and it's like and some people are like, "Well, if I set one over here and I do one over there," if you do too many, then you're defeating yourself because they could show up over to the north side. They could show
Mhm,
up to the south side. They could show up randomly. So, giving yourself 1 or 2 different micro plots, enough where you can adjust your hunting setup based on weather, wind direction and conditions and all that kind of stuff, setting that up. Yes, I've seen a difference in, hey, more deer are going to go over this on an east wind or something like that. So
mhm.
it does help, but you can overdo it too, like in that aspect of putting too many plots down or having too many locations because I got way too much going on. Eventually you're going to get burned by, a deer seeing you and then they know you're there. So it's kind of like, well, that stands kind of a bust now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
you also look at it too, like look at October, and I don't know how it is for Michigan for you guys, but here in Ohio, once the acorns start dropping and you
it,
have all these food sources that are available,
yep.
like the deer just go right. They,
Yeah. And
you can put
that's
it anywhere on a farm and they can find food there. And so it makes it really hard to pattern what the deer are doing.
yeah. I mean, essentially, you're giving yourself better odds with a micro plot per se, because
Hmm.
you're trying to bring them in. Like I keep going back to, um, that single area that, and we make it a quarter acre. Deer like that open area where they can see and look around and everything like that. I mean, you're setting yourself up to, yeah, just be that focal point for that area. Now, I can't tell you that a food plot's the 100% fix to, this, but it's like I said, it's one piece of the puzzle. I mean, you know, say I put clover in this plot and I set up a scrape tree in the middle of it
Hmm.
or some type of scrape post or something like that, and I add water to one end. I mean, right there, you've given yourself, three more chances at a deer. Hey, that deer's thirsty. It's going to come this way. Hey, that deer's hungry. It's coming this way. Hey, that buck's going to, come in and check this scrape. You're giving yourself even more and more odds at this is where they want to be. So,
Right.
food plot's just a small equation or small piece to all of this. So,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, let's be real. Like it's about adding tools to the tool belt. Like there's all
toolbox.
these small little pieces you're put together. Like, I've did a series with the scrape doctor, which is how you and I got
Yep,
connected is through James. And like that's just a piece of it, right? Yeah, it
yep,
helps, right? And it seems to be a buzzword along with microplots is another
constantly.
buzzword with hunting today.
Yep,
So but they're just pieces, like they're not the overall fix, right?
fix. Correct.
It's not the magic bullet. It's not, you got to piece and part these things together to create that atmosphere or that environment and habitat that these deer A are going to stay around and B going to visit to give you an opportunity at them.
Yeah. Yep. And it's hard to tell you what that is. I mean, for a food plot, I mean, if you go into an area and like you said, say you're surrounded by acorns and you're surrounded by this, eventually that's going to go away.
Hmm.
So if you can go,
Right.
hey, if I design this food source over here, once the acorns are done, they're going to transition to this. So
Hmm.
now it's my chance to take over and basically have that plot be the key thing that they're going to key in on all the time. So um yeah, and then
So
like I
is
said,
that something that also would go into your idea of planning those? What is your available food sources and what you're going to
yeah,
try to make available and when?
yep. And I mean, if you're looking to just kill deer, you don't need a massive food plot. If I want to shoot a deer, I mean, just make that quarter acre small one. Now, like we discussed last time, why would I want to do a bigger plot? I need to feed the deer. We
Mhm.
have zero ag around here in this area, or within it's nothing within miles. So if I can draw the neighborhood to this area, I mean that's essentially you make a big plot, like a micro plot. I want all the deer to focus on my property, not
Yes.
the others. So
Mhm.
and that's what a micro plot too kind of will help you with is that buck before he travels to the neighbor's field. I want him to stop at my spot first, then he can go because now I have the first advantage at getting them. So
Yeah,
that's yes, that's you're yes, just adding more advantage to yourself by adding that to it. So and,
absolutely.
and then adding scrapes and watering holes and if once mineral sites, if they ever come back, adding all those little things to just ups your percentage and that those deer or that deer to come to that spot. So
Yeah, so,
that's the nice thing. So
you mentioned
what?
something about mineral sites, so I take
Oh
you
yeah,
guys are allowed to do mineral sites up in Michigan?
they not anymore. We're not
They
allowed
frown
to, I
upon
should
that, do
say.
they?
So salt licks or mineral licks and all that stuff. No,
We can
it's
we can still do that here, but I think all that stuff has to be done in private. You can't do it on public, I'm aware of.
okay.
Don't people, if I'm wrong, don't you can put in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. It
Yeah,
is what it is. But most of the stuff I talk about obviously is going to appear on if you're in Ohio, it's probably going to be private land.
yeah.
Um,
Michigan,
now
they
I was
outlawed. They just switched the baiting thing for the UP this past year, going into this year, the baiting rules have switched. I didn't look too much into them. I don't. like I said, I used to bait long time ago, and then I just switched to food plots, and that's my thing.
Be
So
counterproductive to what you're doing.
I
So
know, I know a little bit. So
I
yes,
get it. I get it.
but
So let's see here. So let's talk about. So now you mentioned it a couple times, and obviously this is a big topic right now, especially with droughts that are happening, or that the lack of rain, or whatever you want to say, right? Is adding water to your plots. So a microplot, that's a good place to put a water source, you say?
I I I would say it's as deadly as just putting a food plot in too. Water sources are huge. I mean, everything in living needs water. So
Right.
obviously putting in some type of water source, whether you go and you dig a hole and you bury a tub down there, or
Hmm.
put some type of liner down to trap water. I
Hmm.
mean, food and water, I mean, we need that every single day of our lives. Deer are no different. So, I mean, you add those two things, that's 50-50 for me. I
Right.
mean, yeah, it's hard to beat. So
Yeah. So is that something you would add to your microplot, or is that something that you would look at?
I with a food plot, I always suggest putting some type of water there if you can. You
Okay.
know, if all I can do is food here, it's better than nothing than just hunting,
Correct.
just the surrounding area. So, and just
Correct.
basing on travel corridor or travel routes and everything. So, but anytime you got food, there has to be water near it. That hands down, you have to add the two together, and that'll help tremendously. So,
Which I don't want to get too far into biology, and I could actually be
nope,
off
you're good.
in left field, but I want to talk, because the ruminants, I think that's what they're called, ruminids,
Ruminants,
ruminants, the deer,
something. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
something along those lines. Once again,
Yeah,
Appalachian trying to use big words, so
words. Yes, you're getting getting scientific all of a
we're getting
sudden.
all like scientifical.
Yeah,
In other words, so these guys, they got multiple stomachs, and they chew their cud and stuff. They
yep.
need moisture with their food, right? So they need to actually have the water. Now they can get a good bit of moisture from the food source
On
itself,
what they're eating, yes. Yep,
but they do still need to have that water available to them. So that makes sense why you want that water there, because I've got a goat here, and that's his thing. He'll eat a crap ton of stuff, then he wants water because he's
yeah,
getting ready to go back and lay down and chew his cud, which is what
yep,
deer are going to do, and they need that moisture to help with that. So
yep,
yes, you do want to. I understand we're wanting to have a water source there available,
yep,
and as we're looking at some of these conditions that we're dealing with now, maybe more important than other, depending upon what you have in your area. Like you have a stream that carries water most of the time, or if you have a pond that holds water, or a tank, whatever part of the country you're from is what you call those.
yep.
Here in Ohio we call them ponds. You go down to Texas, they call them tanks.
Creeks, backwaters, whatever. Yep, well, I got you.
You know, it depends on what part of the country you're from. It
Yep,
also depends on soda and pop. Is it
pop.
soda or is it
Oh,
pop?
yes.
So, anyways, but with that being said, like you know, I the idea of just digging a hole, like, and dropping like one of those agricultural
Those
like
tub
tubs
things. Yep,
tubs down in there, it is works just fine. So also, I don't want to go too far down this road about the whole EHD issue that we're running into,
yep, yep.
but it
That's
is my understanding it's
yep,
not the water itself, it's the organic mud that's left behind when the
kind.
water recedes.
Yes.
So
So with that, fresh fresh water. So that's a big thing to keep up on with a watering hole. When you leave water stagnant, what do you think happens? Diseases,
yeah,
bugs,
right.
critters, all something like that. So that's one thing to consider though about doing a water hole is you got to maintain fresh water in there. Whether you empty the tub, put clean water back in, come back a month later, clean the tub out, empty it, put a drain, something, however you want to do it, or pump it out. But
Hmm.
putting fresh water in there only guarantees that you are making that water source healthier for them. So we don't have these diseases and,
Hmm.
maintaining that. Um, and this is something I thought I have no science backing this, but, adding like, you know, salts and different things in there to keep that water fresher longer. I'm sure there's
Mhm.
products out there or whatever. This is not my area of
No,
expertise,
I
but
get it.
like somehow to purify the water, to maintain it, to keep it longer, would be a better option. That's the only thing I can think of is, just refreshing it all the time would be the easiest way to do that to maintain those, um, you know, the healthiness of all of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
there are some products out there that kind of help
okay,
with water pond clarifiers. Um, so
yeah,
I know this because we have a pond in our backyard. It's pretty big, and
pure or
we've got a lot of muck built up in there because it's just
oh, so you got to break it all down or whatever.
it's an old pond. It's been here forever. I think our property actually used to be an old brick factory or clay tile factory.
Oh boy,
Back
yeah,
in the day, we're talking way back in the day.
way back.
That's what our area is known for is the clay.
Okay,
So we have a lot of and we still have a couple of clay manufacturers still in operation. But anyways, it's an old pond, so we had to add a bacteria to it to kind of help break down the muck
break down all
and
of it.
some
Yep,
clarifier. Just there's some things you can do to help keep help with the water quality and stuff. So you are correct. There are some stuff out there. What they exactly are, I don't know off the top of my head,
yes,
but there are some things you could do.
microbies and all this. Yeah, all that's a whole different biology of things.
Right.
So, but yeah, the microbies and all the microisms that break down stuff. Yes, that.
Yes.
Yep.
And I know some people have seen this episode, not this episode, but the episode, or have heard about this by now, especially if you're from the Ohio area. There is a product out there. I can't endorse it. I've not used it. I don't know anything about it, but it's
Okay.
called EHD Defense. And if you go listen to the podcast this guy's been on, he's talking about it. It sounds like it handles, it's not an insecticide. It's not that. It deals with more of the water quality and what's left behind in the mud and stuff to kind of help reduce the sources that the midge could get to. So that's for you to go find that episode and go listen to that. Like I'm just saying that there are some things
Yep.
out there. So
That's good.
I can't endorse it, can't say it works, can't say it doesn't work, but it's out there for you to look
Yep.
into. And my understanding that's how it works.
Perfect.
So
Well, like I said, yeah, if you can keep the water health up, you're just making it better. Then you
right.
don't have EHD, you don't have CWD and all that.
Yeah, so an artificial water source isn't going to be like a set and forget.
No,
Something
no.
you have to go out and you're going to have to do some maintenance too. So
Yep, decontaminate it, do a little bit of maintenance to it. Not to say that you have to, every single day take care of it
right,
like you would a pet.
no, I
It's
get it,
yeah,
but
it'd be good.
but
So
it's something to think about planning wise though. That where you're going to what plot you're going to set that in because obviously it's something you want to have access to with a ATV or something that can haul a tank back there with you to drop water in
mhm.
it. So
Yep.
you don't want to go deep in the back 40 up down to some valley and, and not
Yep.
be able to get back
That's
into it.
yeah,
So
yeah. So and that's I guess we'll go back to food plots then too. I mean, that's the nicer thing too about a micro plot too is say I need to get back into this section where it's
Mhm.
thick, nasty cover, and I can't get an ATV. I can't get this. That's where the advantage to, why I designed that deep woods is to make it backpackable, if I want to put that as a
Mhm.
word. I
Yeah.
can get into these areas. I can plant. I can do something here.
Mhm.
So that's basically the whole dream and design around that is I can put something here to up my chances of, having deer come to this area. So
All right, so
yep,
we've talked a lot about what a microplot is. We've
yep,
talked some planning ideas. That means location, some prep work that goes into it. Um, despite some of the ideas of some of the industry out there, it's not necessarily just a throw and grow. Yeah, you probably
yep,
could do it, but you're not going to get maximum benefit out of it. There is some prep
correct.
work you're going to have to do, and that includes creating the soil, the seed bed, but also making sure your soil is correct for it. So there is some planning goes into it. Make sure you're getting the sunlight. Add water if it can boost your plot if
Boost.
you can add a water source to it, but make sure that it's something that you have access to that you can keep up with because it's not just a dig a hole and let it go.
Choose
That's that
letter, fill up. Yeah.
because you're going to run into some other issues there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so keep up with that. So keep
Yep.
that in mind if that's the strategy you're going to go with. Um, and just the overall huntability of a microplot in essence, because of it's not as big. It helps attract the deer. You're setting up a staging area into a destination.
Yep.
And also kind of watch what you plant in there. If you grow something, if you try to throw something in there that's not going to handle heavy browse,
It won't
probably not going to
survive.
make it. It's probably
Yep.
not going to make it. You're going to get it's
You're gonna
done.
get dirt.
Yeah, because they're going to eat it down to the dirt, and
Yeah.
it's not going to grow. It's not going to have a chance to germinate.
Yep.
Ask me how I know about soybeans, because
Yeah.
we talked about this last episode. Like, I'm growing soybeans, and it's like, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm like, I'm doing it, and the next thing I know, they're gone because they got
Yep.
ate. Like,
They got eaten.
they got ate. They're gone. So what else do you think we should cover about microplots? I think we covered. Is there something else you wanted to get out that I haven't asked or we haven't covered yet?
Microplots, I mean, I would say, and I'm gonna just take a stab at it, I would say most deer are killed over microplots just because of you can get them close, you can ambush them, you know that they're gonna be there. Overall, it's a better hunting setup per se.
Mhm.
Like, you're getting them where you want them. That's, I mean, I keep going back to that point, but I mean, essentially that's what you're trying to do. So, I mean, with microplots, you're setting yourself up for the best opportunity. So,
Yeah.
and then just adding all those little things. So, I mean, I guess if we even want to go deeper into this, I mean, adding any type of scrape things, I talked to James, there was scrape doctor, and and when I started talking about microplots too, he himself too was like, "Oh, love them, gotta have them." That's scrapes and all this stuff. Like, he
Mhm.
goes off on a scrape tangent. So, but he, you see it though, but like, deer need to communicate, and through
Mhm.
scrapes, that's their communication point. So if I have food, water, and their central, like, this is where we're going to communicate with all what bucks are in the area, what does are in the area, what fawns are in
Mhm.
the area. I mean, you got them where you want them per se.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
I mean, there.
if you have I'll call it the trifecta. If you have all three, I mean, you've boosted your chances way up. So if you can really set your strategy up for, this is the travel corridor, so you know where they're going. I've got food, water, where you're going to communicate in one small area before you start distributing out to either the bedding area or the destination. I mean, to me, it is the ideal hunting setup for hunting purposes, is a micro plot. So,
Well, I'll do a shameless plug here. So head
yep.
over to scrapeDoctor.com to get all your scrape your scrape box.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if you want to save some money, use the code CountryFried10. You'll save 10% on all your scrape needs if you head over to scrapeDoctor.com. So
There you go.
that's my Brandon McDonald right there.
That's it. I like that.
No,
Yeah. I mean, it's, yes, microplots have their purpose for what you have. Now, does it fit everybody's hunting setup? Absolutely not. So, and I guess that's where I'll bring us to possibly the next episode of what we'll talk about. And yeah, we can dive deeper into, destination plots and
yeah,
how to screen, and yeah,
yeah,
we're gonna keep this ball rolling on all
yeah, we
sorts of
are.
different strategies to keep this going. So,
Yes, yes, we are.
yeah, like I said, we're just at the head of the spear right now. We still got to keep going. So,
So if I was going to give a good metaphor for a micro plot, if you do the trifecta as we call it, so you give the
yep,
communication, you've got water, and you got food there. You've got the brand new hot spot in town that all the big people are going to go to, all the big names are showing up to, because it's
yep,
new, it's hot, it's happening. They get their social life taken care of. They
yep,
got their food and their drink and their beverages done and on spot.
and
It's the
that's,
it's the
yep,
brand new gastro pub for you people out there
yep,
that
yep,
enjoy that kind of stuff.
yep.
You know,
It's,
it's funny. It's funny. I keep relating back to bar scenes though.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
I
what
keep having a problem.
I joke. It's like the local bar, though, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
everybody's going there to eat and drink and then
and socialize.
socialize. I mean,
Yeah,
that's it. A microplot is the local town bar, man.
and
It
it,
is,
and
and that's where all the cool people hang out. So that's, I mean, that's where the bucks want to be, and the does, and oh yeah,
If you
So,
plan it right, you're gonna have the hot spot. If you did something wrong or planned it wrong, well, you're gonna have that
yep,
dead bar off the
yep.
distance that
You're gonna fail essentially. Your business will fail. So yeah, if you
your
don't
business
put
is
the
gonna
effort
fail.
into it. So
So, and
yep.
I think that's a good way to leave it off. And thank you for bringing up the next episode that we're, to give a
I'll
little
leave.
teaser to everybody.
Oh,
Give a little tease to everybody. Like, yeah, stay tuned because we got more to come, and we're going to be talking about those destination plots. I think in the next episode, and getting a little bit more. I was going to talk a little bit about screening today with a micro plot and see if that was something, but I wanted to kind of hold off until we get
yeah.
to that part. So,
Screening. There's a lot to screening and cover. There's a lot to it,
mhm,
and that a lot of people don't think about all the different aspects of why you would want to screen and why, you know, do I need to cover my routes versus, why do I need to build a bedding area for a deer? And there's screening's its own even unique type of plot. Now it's not a food plot, but it's more or less a plot of, you know, travel corridors you can do, and there's designs and how to do things correctly. So there's a lot to screening and cover. So,
yeah.
and destination plots, and yeah, we we got plenty more we got to cover. So
We got a lot more to cover. So that means, folks, make sure you stay tuned because we're not done with Tony. Tony will be coming back in some future episodes. But Tony, let's go ahead and close this one out. Is there anything that we've not covered that you want to get out there
I don't know.
in the
I just
microplots? He's like,
we
there's so
just
much.
need local small time bars. That's all we need. Build your own local small town bar, and we'll do that. So,
And make it the hot spot, right? We
you
want
get the hot spot.
we want all the does to come here so we can attract the big bucks. So we're, think of it that way. Like, what bar do most men go to?
Go to where all the ladies are going, right?
want to go where the ladies are going.
Let's go.
So
Yep.
make sure you get that place set up for them. Give them a little dance floor there. I
Yep. You got it all set up, man.
a communication hub, some water.
Yep.
So I guess just a quick recap of everything we just talked about today. So number one is planning and where you want this microplot or microplots to go. So some things to consider obviously is location. We need to be close to deer and where deer are traveling to, right? We also need to have a place that's going to get sunlight or at least sufficient sunlight that is going to help the plants germinate and grow, right? The next
Correct.
part is we want to find a place that we can work the soil. Now, by working the soil, that means we can just go in there and scratch it up. But
Yep.
we also want to make sure that the soil is going to be good,
Exposed. Yep.
exposed. But we also want to make sure the soil is going to be good when it comes to pH level,
Yep.
to help make sure that those plants can obtain all the nutrition they can to help them grow, and then provide that nutrition to the deer. And other animals. I mean, it's not just deer. I mean, we could talk a lot about other animals that can
Yep.
benefit from this, but obviously
Absolutely.
we're talking about deer. Like, let's be honest, that's the money maker for most states in this area is deer, right? So, make that's part of it. It's not just go out there and throw the stuff down. So make sure your soil is ready. So if you're hearing this now, maybe it's a chance for you to go out, find that spot, get that line down, get that started, so that when you go to plant, it's ready for you. It's ready for you next year for the next season. Outside of that, like, we talked about creating that trifecta. So, that we're making that hot local bar scene. So we need food, we need communication, we need some water, right?
Water.
We need that drink, the drink you drank for the
Drink.
animals.
Yep.
So, man, but I think that's setting up a pretty good idea of what people should look for microplots. I think that's a good idea. And we also gave you some ideas of what to plant. And we didn't really talk about what to avoid, but we did talk about some things that I think vicariously you should avoid, like beans, corn, things like
Yeah.
that. Because
Yeah. Corn and soybeans probably not the best thing to plant in a little quarter.
won't survive. It will not
Won't work.
survive. It will not survive. But it's something that can handle heavy pressure. Oh, so I do want to let's get this out real quick.
Okay.
And we talked about it in the last episode. The biggest thing I think is keeping something out of it until it's ready, and that might be a concern for some people.
Yep.
Is that something that you've seen or something that you would recommend to
You
do
could
with microplot?
Yep. So it's timing is another thing. I guess we can go way back into it, but timing of when you want to plant is also a consideration too. For one, you don't want to plant too early. A, it'll either get too overgrown, or B, it'll get mowed down before hunting season.
Mhm.
And you don't want to plant too late due to not even getting enough growth out of the plant or
Right.
just not enough time. So timing does have to have some aspect to it. So checking with like germination rate, or not the germination rate, but the well, how long it takes the plant to get established and grow and get some good height out of it. So
Mhm.
reading labels is the big thing, how long it takes for rye to get to its maturity. So kind of read into what you want to plant. How long does it take to get this height or whatever? Like corn, some corn is 85 days or something like that. So that's why you go, okay, if I plant it in May, it'll be ready in July or late July, August. So
Knee high by July.
yep, there you go. So reading into some of that stuff of what you want to plant, how long is it going to take to grow? Do I have enough time? So on and so forth. And some
Okay.
people get into a bind, you're going to have to gamble. That's planting is a gamble.
Mhm.
So if you're like, hey, I only have this weekend to plant, give it a shot. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of that aspect too. So, but if you're like, nope, I know if I plan it, 45 days from now and it'll put me right at opening day, that should give you plenty of time, for growing, like my deep woods. I mean, in less than a couple weeks, you can have a pretty good set or pretty good stand of everything. So,
Okay.
yep,
That makes sense. And like I said, it's the concern could be like making sure it can reach that maturity level and doesn't get mowed over
mowed
before
over
before it,
season.
it happens. Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep,
timing is a good thing, and I'm glad we circled back that and you brought that up because that is
yeah.
important.
And it
So
is, it's stuff people don't think about. They're like, oh, I'm going to plant now and it'll be great. But like some brassica plants too, you can get over matured, like
mhm,
where it's not even palatable anymore. The deer don't even want to eat it. Same with
mhm.
grains. They can get too high and they start getting awns. Awns are the seed heads, and
Okay.
deer don't eat some of the seed heads on them. I mean, they might if that's the only thing there,
Right.
but for the most part, low, lush grains, you know, leaf coming out, clover that's pretty good, stand about, 4 or 6 inches high. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's about the ideal setup.
All right. No, makes perfect
Yeah,
sense. Well, folks, well, Tony, thank you again so much for jumping on
abs-
here, and we've got a
absolutely,
lot more
Shane.
to
It's
go.
always good talking with you. So,
We've got a lot more to go. This episode's coming to an end. We got a few other episodes coming your guys' way, so stay tuned as we dive deeper into those destination plots. We talk a lot more about screening, and we got a few more things in the works for you guys. So, and hopefully we will culminate all this. This will all come together in a big old package bundle, and we sit down. We kind of look at some aerial views and kind of create some ideas of how we would look at or how you would look at creating your perfect oasis for your deer, and try to get a couple different type of areas located out and work through those. So they may or may not be areas to hunt. They may not be. I don't know. We'll see. All
we'll
right,
make
just
it make it work however we can.
randomly find something off the internet like, hey, what would you do here?
Yep,
So if
absolutely.
I accidentally pull your farm, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, you're well. They just get free
They
design
got free
work.
advice.
So
Yeah, everybody like, thanks. Now everybody's gonna be coming to my place. I
my
appreciate
place.
you.
Yep.
Like, well, don't post pictures of your deer that you shot.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
exactly. So
I'm
free
kidding.
consultation. So
Right. All right, Tony. Anything else you guys say in closing, my man?
no, just good luck to everybody that's out hunting at this time whenever this um podcast comes out, and hopefully you have a successful season.
Absolutely. And real quick, we did it last time, but where can people find you at?
On Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, we're still working on the website a little bit, but if you go on Facebook, there's a Wix attachment to our site that
Mhm.
has a list of, you can view all our products and everything like that. So, but going through the construction phase right now of just redesign. So, but
Absolutely. So is it Red Light Food Plot Seed Company that you find you on those? Or are there any like monikers that you use?
just Red Light Food Plot Seed Company, or Red Light FPSC
Okay.
is kind of what my other acronym thing
You
fall
cost out
under.
there that's Frank, Paul, Sam, Charles.
Yep. There you go. Using your comp lingo there.
I know, right? I know.
Yep.
I gotta do. So, hey, did you hear about the fire that happened down here at one of the circuses that was going on down here?
God. Go ahead. Yeah. Could you yeah.
They said it was intense.
Yeah. Yeah. There he is.
I'm sorry. I had
Oh,
to.
believe me, maybe the next episode I'll have a good one for you. I'll get you
Oh,
law enforcement one.
I gotta see if I can find it again. I got that off of a reel that was going around on Instagram. There's a fire chief and a police chief sitting there talking to each other, doing bad dad jokes, and that was one of them. Like, I like that.
Yep. Yep. I knew as soon as you said it. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, here it comes."
Here it comes. I know what it's gonna be.
Yep.
Welcome to fatherhood.
Yep.
we know all the bad dad jokes. All right, Tony, man, I appreciate you so much for taking the time, and I look forward as we continue to build upon this mini series. And then we'll talk a little bit off air before this is all said and done. But I do appreciate your time. And like I said, looking forward to these next episodes as we start building upon this and building this relationship and getting information out there to the folks out there.
Yeah.
And folks, I appreciate you taking the time to sit and listen to Tony and I talk for the last hour or so, give or take by the time editing's done. And because I know your guys' time is precious, and we really don't take it lightly that you took that time and out your day to sit and listen to us talk. And we hope that you found this to be beneficial as you search out there chasing the experience that you guys want. And we hope that this is a resource that will be able to help you accomplish those goals. But that being said, until our experiences cross paths again, may you have the courage to fail, but yet the humility to learn. And as always, we hope you stay safe out there, and God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.